Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television. Here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lays foundation stone of India's biggest oil refinery project in Barmer district, says earlier Congress regime in Rajasthan deceived people by not carrying out the work. After a special visit to the Taj Mahal in Agra, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addresses geopolitical conference. Raisina Dialogue hails Prime Minister Modi's efforts in improving the ease of doing business in the country. Chief Justice reaches out to the 4 senior judges of the Supreme Court, holds a 15-minute-long meeting before start of day's work. Attorney General hopes dispute will be resolved in a couple of days. Supreme Court observes that targeting adult men and women opting for intercaste marriage is absolutely illegal, underlines that no khap, panchayat, individual or society can question couples. And record number of 1.75 lakh Muslims to undertake Hajj pilgrimage from India. Government says that in line with the Supreme Court's order, there will be no subsidy for pilgrims from this year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the commencement of work of an oil refinery in Rajasthan's Barmer district today. The project, costing over 43,000 crore rupees, is likely to be completed by 2021. At the inauguration, the Prime Minister said the previous regime in the state had just deceived the people by laying foundation stones for projects doing nothing for the poor.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday inaugurated the commencement of work for the first oil refinery in Rajasthan's Barmer district. The project, that is estimated to cost 43,129 crore rupees, will be the first Indian greenfield refinery designed to produce BS6 grade fuel. Addressing the public at the launch, the Prime Minister urged the people to aim towards creating a new India by 2022.
कि 2022 तक इस रिफाइनरी का कार्यारंभ कर देंगे। मुझे विश्वास है ये संकल्प सिद्धि बन करके रहेगा और जब देश आजादी के 75 साल मनाता होगा तब यहां से देश को नई ऊर्जा मिलना प्रारंभ हो जाएगा।
Taking pot shots at the previous Congress government in the state, Modi said drought and Congress travel hand in hand in the state.
कि राजस्थान में कांग्रेस और अकाल ये जुड़वा भाई है। जहां कांग्रेस जाएगी वहां अकाल साथ साथ जाता है। और वसुंधरा जी के भाग्य में लिखा हुआ है, जब भी उनको सेवा करने का मौका मिला, इस सूखी धरती को पानी मिलता रहा।
The refinery project is a joint venture between Hindustan Petroleum Corporation and Rajasthan government. With a 9 million ton per annum capacity, it will be the biggest refinery ahead of HPCL refinery in Mumbai that has a capacity of 7.5 million tons per annum and Visakhapatnam that has an 8.3 million ton capacity. On completion by 2021, the refinery cum petrochemical complex will create 40,000 indirect employment opportunities during peak construction period and 10,000 direct jobs. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now get you the latest from the visiting Israeli Prime Minister's ongoing visit to India. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has hailed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's efforts in improving the ease of doing business in the country. He also said that he believed in India and its potential. Inaugurating the 3rd edition of the geopolitical conference Raisina Dialogue in the national capital, he stressed upon the need for greater cooperation between the two nations. He further added that the main job of both India and Israel is to cut bureaucratic delays. On Indo-Israel ties, Netanyahu said that the alliance of democracies is important to secure a common future and that the possibilities are endless. The annual flagship three-day conference was also attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. The theme of the dialogue this year is managing disruptive transitions, ideas, institutions and idioms. Netanyahu is on a 6-day visit to India.
The weak don't survive. The strong survive. You make peace with the strong. You make alliances with the strong. You're able to maintain peace by being strong. And therefore, the first requirement of Israel from the time of our first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, was to achieve the minimal strength that is required to assure our existence. Now, what is the source of strength? Various questions arise about what is the nature of power. There's soft power, there's hard power. I like soft power. Hard power is often better. What does it mean? What does it mean to have power? Well, the first prerequisite is military power. You need F-35s, you need submarines, you need interceptors, you need cyber, you need intelligence. If you want to have economic power, you must reduce taxes, simplify taxes, and you must cut bureaucracy. Government can facilitate economic growth. Government can block economic growth. In our cases, Israel and India, we don't have any bureaucracy to contend with. You know that. So a main job of the leaders of both India and Israel is to reduce this bureaucracy, to cut it, as I call it, with a machete, with an axe, so that the firms can go on with their business of doing business. This gives strength. We've done this in Israel.
Earlier in the day, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the Taj Mahal in Agra. He was accompanied by his wife, Sarah. Netanyahu, who was received by Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath at the airport, was accorded a traditional welcome. Netanyahu is slated to visit Gujarat on Wednesday along with Prime Minister Modi. The two leaders will hold a roadshow there. In Gujarat, the visiting Israeli Prime Minister will present Modi with a special gift, the Galmobile water desalination and purification jeep the two leaders rode on at Israel's Olga beach last year. The jeep is said to cost around 390,000 shekels, which is approximately $111,000. Well, Moshe Holzberg, or Baby Moshe as he is fondly called, visited Nariman House, also known as Chabad House in Mumbai on Tuesday, where his parents lost their lives in the 26/11 terror attack. Moshe, who is now 11 years old, was accompanied by his grandfather. Moshe arrived in Mumbai today for the first time since the tragedy struck the family over 9 years ago. Rabbi Holzberg Nachman, the grandfather of Moshe, said it's a very special day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had met Moshe and his grandparents during his visit to Israel in July last year and told him that he could visit India anytime. Well, moving on to some other big news of the day now. In the first signs of a thaw in the ongoing crisis in the Supreme Court, Chief Justice of India Deepak Mishra reached out to the 4 dissenting judges on Tuesday. Highly placed sources in the Apex Court said that the Chief Justice met Justices J. Chalameshwar, Ranjan Gogoi, M.B. Lokur and Kurian Joseph for about 15 minutes before normal work of the day started. CJI Mishra reportedly called the meeting himself, which will continue on Wednesday as issues raised at Tuesday's meeting remained unresolved. Details about what transpired during the meeting are not known yet. Earlier in the day, Attorney General K.K. Gopal had expressed hope that the crisis will be fully settled in 2 to 3 days. Supreme Court Bar Association President Vikas Singh also exuded confidence that there was a likelihood of the crisis being resolved by the end of this week. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court directed the Maharashtra government to give all documents pertaining to the death of Justice B.H. Loya to petitioners seeking an independent probe into the circumstances of his death. Appearing for Maharashtra, senior advocate Harish Salve told the Supreme Court bench that documents contain certain confidential material that cannot be shared in public. The petitioner's counsel assured the court that none of the documents relating to the case would be made public. The court then directed the Maharashtra government to share all documents with the petitioners within a week. The court then adjourned the hearing in the case for a week without specifying any date. CBI Special Judge B.H. Loya had died of a cardiac arrest in Nagpur on December 1, 2014. Well, staying on with news from the Supreme Court now, the Supreme Court has termed attacks on couples by Khap Panchayats absolutely illegal. The Apex Court said if an adult man and woman marry, no Khap Panchayat, individual or society can question them. The Supreme Court said that any kind of collective attack on a boy or girl who are adult is absolutely illegal. A bench of Chief Justice Deepak Mishra and Justices A.M. Khanwilkar and D.Y. Chandrachud asked the centre to give its response on suggestions earlier given by amicus curiae Raju Ramachandran on ways to prevent harassment and killing of young couples in the name of family honour. The top court added if the government does not enact a law to protect couples opting for intercaste marriage, the court will evolve a principle and lay down guidelines. The court has listed the matter for February 5th for further hearing. Well, there will be no subsidy for Hajj for this year. Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi made the announcement on Tuesday. Naqvi said the move to abolish the subsidy for Hajj pilgrims was in accordance with the Supreme Court order. Naqvi told the media that despite the subsidy withdrawal, a record number of 1.75 lakh Muslims will undertake the pilgrimage this year from India. He also said that the Saudi Arabian government has in principle agreed to allow Hajj journey from India by ships. Officials of the two countries will sit together to finalize the modalities.
जो हज सब्सिडी थी, उस हज सब्सिडी का जो समाज के शैक्षणिक सशक्तिकरण में इस्तेमाल होगा, खासतौर से लड़कियों, बच्चियों के, महिलाओं के शैक्षणिक एजुकेशनल एम्पावरमेंट के लिए उसका इस्तेमाल किया जाएगा, ताकि जो है वो जो शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में एक पिछड़ा हुआ है समाज, उस शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में उसको बराबरी का एहसास कराया जा सके, उसका सशक्तिकरण कराया जा सके.
Well, moving on to some other news now, institutions with NAAC grade of A+ and A++ will soon be able to offer 3-year degree programs through online mode. These will be treated at par with regular courses. The HRD Ministry is formulating guidelines for the 3-year degree programs to be provided via online mode. The rules and guidelines for the same would be notified by next month. HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar said online education will also help increase enrollment ratio in the country. At the 65th meeting of the Central Advisory Board of Education, it was also resolved that necessary steps will be taken to ensure that no deserving student should be denied opportunity to have higher education for lack of means.
टॉप इंस्टीट्यूट्स है, टॉप विश्वविद्यालय है, ऐसे एक 10% विश्वविद्यालय जो गुणवत्तापूर्ण है, उनको ये परमिशन देंगे कि ओपन डिस्टेंस लर्निंग और ऑनलाइन लर्निंग, इसके दोनों के रेगुलेशंस, एक ओडीएल के रिवाइज रेगुलेशंस है और ऑनलाइन के पहली दफ़ा रेगुलेशंस बन रहे हैं, तो उसके द्वारा नॉन टेक्निकल कोर्सेज की शिक्षा छात्रों को या बाकी भी कर्मचारियों को, व्यवसायियों को, किसी को भी, नागरिक को ये मिलेगी. जैसे हमारा स्वयं पोर्टल है, वो इंडिया का ओन मुक्स है, ओपन लर्निंग रिसोर्सेस है, वो सभी दुनिया में पॉपुलर हो रहे हैं और ऐसा ही यहाँ भी होगा. तो ये ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन की एक नई सुविधा नए रेगुलेशन के साथ आएगी और उससे बहुत अच्छा परिणाम होगा.
In other news now, a comprehensive policy to boost the country's agriculture exports is on the anvil. The Commerce and Industry Ministry will soon bring in a policy framework for facilitating access to global markets for Indian agriculture produce. The policy would focus on identifying markets, products involving states in a bid to boost agri-exports as well. This move would also help serve the government's objective of doubling farmers' income by 2022.
The Commerce Ministry is working on a draft agriculture export policy that will aim to boost outward shipments. All important elements such as logistics, certification and traceability of items would be part of the new policy.
Agri-export policy में कैसे हम लोग प्रोसेसिंग को, वैल्यू एडिशन को बढ़ावा दें, कैसे एक स्टेबल एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट पॉलिसी को बढ़ावा दें, कैसे हमारे जो ऑटोनोमस बॉडीज़ हैं, एपिडा, एम्पिडा, स्पाइस बोर्ड, टी बोर्ड, ये सब एक्सपोर्टर के साथ काम करें, कैसे हम लोग स्टेट्स को ज़्यादा इन्वॉल्व करें प्रमोशन एक्टिविटीज़ में.
The global export market for agriculture produce is worth about $1,600 billion. India is second in agriculture production in the world, but is ranked 8th in exports, with agri-exports accounting for just 10% of the country's total exports. India mainly exports tea, coffee, rice, cereals, tobacco, spices, cashew, oil meals, fruits and vegetables, and marine products.
We need to evolve our products in terms of global taste, global formulas, global packaging, and push them hard onto the retail chains.
Agricultural exports from India grew 18% to $21 billion in the April-October period in 2017-18, compared to just 5% in 2016-17. The policy works well with the government's aim to double farmers' income by 2022. Crop diversification, focus on allied sectors, food processing and tapping global markets are among the steps the government is taking to meet this target. Kruti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, President Ramnath Kovind has called for a new regulatory system to enhance availability of doctors and medical professionals in the country. Addressing the 45th convocation of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi, President Kovind expressed concerns over the highly inadequate number of medical education seats in the country. He also pointed out the shortage of doctors in the country and said the workload on the existing professionals was very high. President Kovind also said that the poor in the country do not get access to a good healthcare system.
Please remember that you need to give back to the society. It is true that you need to be legitimately rewarded for your academic excellence, your medical skills and your expertise. Yet, as doctors, your services must be available both to those who can afford your fees and also to those who are less fortunate and cannot afford.
Well, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu inaugurated the event marking 1,000 liver transplantations in Tamil Nadu by Glen Eagles Global Hospital in Chennai today. Speaking at the event, VP Naidu said that organ donation is a noble way of living beyond death. The Vice President also urged everyone to make organ donation a national-level mass movement. He also released the book 1000 Liver Transplantation, authored by expert surgeon Dr. Mohammad Rela.
The people who have given their organs, we should really salute them. I must tell you, if anybody wants to live after death, I have a remedy. If you want to live after death also, there is a simple method. Donate your organ, you will live for life. Don't have given this even after your death. Do something good, you will be remembered. You will be remembered if you do something good to the society. There are great people who have done so much to the country and to society. We remember those people. Not everybody is going to be remembered. But if you do something to society in a small manner or big manner, you will also be remembered.
Well, here's a quick look at what else is making news across the country and nationwide. The Supreme Court on Tuesday pulled up CBI's SIT for not registering FIRs in the alleged Manipur fake encounters by the Army, Assam Rifles and police as directed by it earlier. The Apex Court directed the SIT to lodge 30 more FIRs on or before January 31st this year, after the SIT informed it that it has registered 12 FIRs till date. The bench posted the matter for further hearing on March 12th. The Apex Court was particularly referring to alleged fake encounter cases said to have taken place between 2003 and 2009. The Enforcement Directorate has summoned Rahul Yadav, another son-in-law of RJD Chief Lalu Prasad, in connection with its money laundering probe in the Railways Hotel allotment corruption case. The agency has allegedly detected some funds being transferred by Rahul Yadav to his mother-in-law Rabdi Devi, the wife of Lalu Prasad. He has been summoned to depose before the investigating officer of the case on Wednesday in Delhi. The Mumbai police on Tuesday arrested co-owner of Mojo's Bistro pub, Yug Tuli, in connection with the Kamala Mills fire case. He surrendered at a police station early on Tuesday morning. A sessions court last Friday had rejected his anticipatory bail plea. He is a Nagpur-based businessman and had been absconding ever since the incident took place. The other owner of Mojo's Bistro, Yug Patak, is already under arrest. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The prolific British poet and story writer Joseph Rudyard Kipling won Masters of Short Stories in English. In 1894 appeared his Jungle Book, which became a children's classic all over the world. Kim, the story of Kimball O'Hara and his adventures in the Himalayas, is perhaps his most felicitous work published. Set in and concerned with India he had come to know and love so well. In 1907, Kipling became the first English language writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, let's now get your news from the first Grand Slam tournament of the year, the Australian Open. Defending champion Roger Federer of Switzerland beat Slovenian Aljaz Bedene in his opening match of the Australian Open on Tuesday. Federer defeated Bedene 6-3, 6-4, 6-3. He will next face Germany's Jan-Lennard Struff on Thursday. In another match, Serbia's Novak Djokovic beat American Donald Young 6-1, 6-2, 6-4 on his return to the Grand Slam stage. While world number 4 Alexander Zverev defeated Italy's Thomas Fabiano 6-1, 7-6, 7-5 in the first round. Meanwhile, in a women's singles match, former champion Maria Sharapova made her comeback to the tennis court on a winning note. Sharapova defeated Germany's Tatiana Maria 6-1, 6-4. While world number 1 Simona Halep of Romania reached the second round of the Australian Open despite suffering an ankle injury after defeating Australian Destiny Iwa. Meanwhile, in other women's singles matches, Johanna Konta, Karolina Pliskova, Angelique Kerber and Carolina Garcia proceeded to the second round. Well, here's an update now from the other sports news in Sportsbeat. India beat Papua New Guinea by 10 wickets to enter the quarterfinals of the ongoing ICC Under-19 World Cup in New Zealand. Skipper Prithvi Shaw top scored for the Indian squad with an unbeaten 57-run knock. Batting first, Papua New Guinea were all out for just 64 runs. Left-arm spinner Anukul Roy was the pick of the bowlers as he took 5 wickets for 14 runs in his 7-over spell. New Zealand beat Pakistan by 5 wickets in the 4th ODI at Seddon Park in New Zealand to lead the series 4-0. Colin de Grant Home played an unbeaten 74 runs knock to steer the Kiwis to victory, while Colin Munro gave a solid start with his 56-run knock. Batting first, Pakistan scored 262 for 8 in their innings. Mohammad Hafiz was the top scorer for the Pakistani side with his 81 runs knock. Tim Saudi was the pick of the bowlers as he took 3 wickets. 4-time Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles said she was sexually abused by former USA gymnastics team physician Larry Nassar. Biles joined a number of top gymnasts who accused Nassar of abuse, including Gabby Douglas, Ali Reisman and Michaela Meroni. Nassar was sentenced last month to 60 years in prison on federal child pornography charges and is set to be sentenced this week in Michigan after pleading guilty to additional counts of criminal sexual conduct. Over to some international news now. The US is trying to convince Pakistan that India was not a threat to it and Islamabad should change its strategic stance towards New Delhi. This was revealed by the country's Defence Minister Khurram Dastagir Khan. However, he said that it was time for a courteous yet ruthlessly candid dialogue with the US, with everything on the table to remove all misunderstandings between Islamabad and Washington. Reading out a policy statement on the government's foreign policy contours and security situation in Pakistan, Khan regretted that the US downplays India's posturing along the line of control. He also said that the perception about India was one of the most foundational differences between Pakistan and the US. Here's a roundup of the other news from around the world in Global Buzz. At least 9 construction workers were killed and 5 others injured after a partially constructed motorway bridge collapsed in central Colombia. The bridge in Tirajara was to be a part of a highway connecting the capital Bogota with the city of Villavicencio. The cause of the collapse is under investigation. Pakistan's ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif compared cases against him to a flop movie as he appeared before an accountability court trying him for graft in the Panama Papers scandal. Sharif arrived in the court with his daughter Maryam and son-in-law Mohammad Safdar, who are co-accused in one of the cases. Lava trails came from the crater of the Philippines' most active volcano, Mayon, forcing thousands of people to evacuate. More than 12,000 residents had already fled to evacuation centers after the Mayon volcano began spewing ash. The Philippines ordered the forced evacuation of people from municipalities on Monday after chief volcanologist warned of a possible hazardous eruption. Authorities on Sunday upgraded the alert level at the Mayon volcano in Luzon to level 3 after observing steam eruptions and a bright lava glow. Well, that's it on this newscast. Good night.